Do you expect people with Chinese blood to be more business-minded? Do you think that Chinoys are more successful in business? Is it even true that the Chinese are better than us in business? You are in the right place because this episode is the second part of the series. 3 things we can learn from successful Chinoy business owners, part 2. Hi, welcome to Mami Negosyo's Business Tips number 45. And let's now go back to the topic we started last time. First, we differentiated between Chinese and Chinoys. We said that Chinese is the politically correct term to use for citizens of China, and they are usually born in China. Just like my 2 grandfathers and that of my husband's 2 grandfathers. They're also like the workers in Pogo that you meet, as well as the Chinese cooks in 5-star hotels. Chinoys, on the other hand, are kids and the grandkids and the many generations that came from these Chinese. The difference is that they're born in the Philippines and they're Filipino citizens, most of them. So technically, Chinoys can be the next generations of 2 Chinese or a Chinese and a Pinoy, or those of 2 Chinoys. Now, next, we went back to history and explored how the Chinese came to the Philippines in the 1900s using the story of a lolo. Actually, it was my husband's grandfather as an example. We identified the similarities between the Chinoys and the OFWs of today, which is firstly extreme corruption, leading to an underdeveloped country because the money for the services that were for the people were pocketed by people in power. Second, lack of livelihood in their own country. The clayey soil forced the Chinese from Fujian to learn how to pedal. They became OFWs because there are no jobs that pay high enough. These were the OFWs. Now, thirdly, poverty. Poverty both in China and in the Philippines. Poverty made both of them think of leaving their own country to earn money, and the motivation was to feed the family and to give the family a better future. And of course, another common trait is the love of family, because both the Chinese migrants in the 1900s and the OFWs now were ready to leave their families to support and provide for their daily needs. Now, there were also differences. First of all, we said the seasons. Chinese or China had 4 seasons and 3 months in a year is winter. So many Chinese died of hunger, so the Chinese learned to survive the winter months by saving. Pinoys only had the dry and wet seasons. There are occasional typhoons or rainy days, but we Pinoys, we just save for these rainy days. Know that it's just days and not months. So, for some, instead of saving, they resorted to borrowing money because after the rain stops, it will be easy to make money again by selling a few of our produce, right? So, do you see why the Chinese who came here became savers and why we Pinoys are not? Instead, borrowing money became ingrained in our culture. Pinoys are used to borrowing money, so when they got married and had kids, what values were passed on to them? Yes, the mañana habit. On the other hand, when the Chinese, like my grandfather, got married and had kids, what values did they teach? Saving, frugality. Spend only for needs and always prepare for the winters in your life, even if there's no winter here. So for us Pinoys, the fertile soil and the good weather were blessings, but they also brought to some of us the curse of borrowing money. Now for the Chinese and then the Chinoy, the curse of winter and clay soil became a blessing because it taught them the values of saving and frugality. Now, because of these values, this is why some Chinoys are successful in business. Jollibee Food Corporation has among its list of values frugality. It's something they want to share with everyone who works with their company. So that's our lesson number 1. that we can learn from the Chinoy successful business owners like Jollibee. Okay, savings and frugality. Let's go to another point of difference. Second point of difference is education. Pinoys are highly educated, and so when we go abroad as OFWs, except for the domestic helpers, we usually get good jobs, right? But the Chinese in the 1600s or 1900s, like my grandfather, who was no read, no write, even if they are hardworking, nobody wants to hire them. They had no choice but to be peddlers. Or like my own two grandfathers who graduated from being cargadores to open his own bakery, and the other one to open his own jewelry making shop. These were all manual labor that made them work very hard and for long hours just to be able to earn and send money home. Now consider this. Because the Chinese could not read and write, they had no choice but to become peddlers. And then, because they could save and grow their money, they became business owners. The Chinese started their simple businesses, and as their kids became educated, the kids helped grow their businesses even more. Now, usually the third generation gets to be more educated because they are sent abroad to study. This is just like Lance Gokongwei, a Chinoy. His late father was also a Chinoy, John Gokongwei. The Chinese was John's father, whose name was Gokongwei. He was the real Chinese who came to the Philippines. Now back to Lance, he studied in Singapore for a while and then in the US. This is the usual pattern for Chinoys who are successful. If you look at the story of Jose Rizal, our national hero, it looks like he too is a third generation Chinoy and that he came from a family that was really rich. Or else, how could he have been sent to Europe to study, right? Now let's go back to us, Pinoys. Our education qualifies us to get good jobs abroad. We've been exporting our health workers, engineers, and accountants for decades. Because of this, we've been suffering from brain drain for the longest time. Now, let's look at the kids of these OFWs who have left for abroad. Many of them became OFWs themselves, right? Many of them became immigrants and settled in other countries. The question is it easier for them to become successful business owners? So, is good education a blessing? By now, I hope you are seeing that it's useless to call anything a blessing or a curse because any blessing can harm and any curse can be turned into a blessing. It's how we turn it around. So the lesson in number 2 is that it's easier for a business owner to model for the next generation to continue to be business owners. But it's difficult for a professional to teach the next generation to become a business owner. So to recap, we can learn the following lessons about successful Chinoy business owners. The first one is saving and frugality, how to save and how to be frugal. Number 2 is business is learned by the modeling of parents. So at this point, can you please type your biggest takeaway for today's episode? Can you do that, please? Okay, so thank you for doing that, and I hope you learned something from today's episode. And if you did, please make sure to subscribe and to share this with a fellow aspiring entrepreneur. And join our communities by clicking the links below to learn more. This is Mommy and your Mommy Negosyo saying, be business-minded. See you in the next video.